Nothing like a little bit of rain to green things up. This is a really pretty angle of the garden right now. I love these ageratums, and they look a little bit droopy from all the rain, but I think they just look like Dr. Seuss flowers. They're like little pom-poms. Aren't they pretty? And this particular plant got huge, so whatever's in the soil here, it really appreciated. But it's nice to see everything happy after the rain. It had been a while. And we've got a couple beautiful zinnias blooming. And here's the little congregation of pots around my red bud, which is overall doing much better this year. Now that I've protected the ground underneath it, I think it's helped keep moisture in. But my roses have started to come back after a really hot summer. My little mini roses, and I hope they overwinter in the pot okay. We'll see how they do. We'll see if they come back next year. But right next to it are my coleus cuttings, and I moved them around front because they're a beautiful splash of color. I just love them. And my little mushroom garden is tucked in behind the red bud and the container plantings. And it's starting to look really lush again now that temperatures have come back down into the 80s. It's a little messy right now, but I'm loving the way this area has a curving path that goes down into the lower garden. So I'm really liking how that's coming along. When I cut my miscanthus back in the front, my miscanthus grass, I'll be adding more to that path, making it a little bit more substantial. But I've been working on developing this area here with adding more plants. And some of my hydrangeas over here are getting bigger down here across the top. And of course the hostas always look good. They've really filled in this whole side of the yard. My little owls hanging from the tree, my coffee can owls, have rusted out, and I love how they look. Sometimes I love to put rusty elements into the garden. It just looks so natural. Aren't they fun? They're just hanging out together, hanging in the tree. Most of this is my living mulch. These were just white beans I threw out from the grocery store, just dried white beans. I threw them out, kind of worked them into the soil, and they grew almost like a hedge of beans. So I don't know if I'll get beans, but the point was to add some more organic matter to this bed, which I always do plantings in. 2 years in a row I've done tomatoes, and I think next year I'm going to do some salad bush cucumbers here, just to change things up a little bit. But the beans have done really well, and I think they're going to prepare the soil for the next season. And as gardeners, we're always thinking ahead, and cover cropping and living mulch is a great way and cheap to improve your soil. And here in Maryland we have clay soil, so the more organic matter that I add, the better off the plants can grow. It makes the soil looser and richer. Here's a particularly lush corner of the rustic bed. We still have zinnias putting up some color, and I have my basil plants here, my purple opal basil, putting out some flowers as well. You can see here. It'd be nice if it dropped some seeds and naturalized in this bed. That would make me very happy if some of these seeds that drop came back. And I've got these wild persimmons all over the place. I have a wild persimmon tree dropping many pounds of persimmons, and they're all over here. I have froze some and used them in smoothies, and they're quite delicious. But wild persimmons have big seeds in a small fruit, but the whole area is littered, and I've used quite a few of them to go on my new garden bed here. So I have cardboard and all kinds of debris and lots of persimmons, and I've added a little bit of my homemade compost. I'm going to come through here again, add some more compost, and by next spring hopefully I'll have a plantable bed. We'll see. It's quite a mess now, but like I said, fall is a good time of year to start planning ahead and make some amendments to your soil and get ready for next season. My fig trees are growing like gangbusters. They really are fast growers. Isn't the leaf structure on that just beautiful? I love it. Look at that silhouette. This one was only about a foot tall last year, and it's really done well. And here's another one with some ripe figs on it. Look at that. I'll be taking those in today, and I like to dry them in the microwave before I eat them. There's about 3 of them on there. Oh, here's a little bee enjoying this one. Sometimes when it rains, it splits open and the bugs get to them, which is what happened here. So maybe I'll just let wildlife enjoy these figs this year. Isn't that great, guys? This young tree is already producing. Here's how tall it is in relation to the fence. So I'll have those 2 young figs here to enjoy. And here's 2 pots of young plants I can give you an update on. This is my variegated grass, and it's doing really well. As you can see, the variegation there, those little light patches. But I planted a couple little sprouts of that, and it seems to like where it's planted in the pot. Hopefully that'll give me a nice big pot of it next year. And then these are doing really well now that the weather's cool. They put on a lot of growth. These are several little Japanese maples that I got off of eBay this spring. Popped them in the pot, and they stayed alive, but they didn't do much of anything until now. But now they're putting on some growth now that it's not burning hot outside, and hopefully I can pop them out individually next year. I just love how green everything looks after the rain. This is quite a green corner, and we enjoy this. This is right next to our small patio, and there's lots of green to enjoy. My little Dr. Seuss topiaries are doing well. And of course all the Pachysandra looks very lush and beautiful this time of year. Really year-round. It's a wonderful ground cover. And I've got my quick fire hydrangeas in the back there. And they have really filled in that space. It was a hill that I planted last year, and they really filled out. And it looks very nice. I'm very happy with the way that looks behind my bird bath. Lots of new green growth on my Alberta spruce topiaries at the edge of the deck here. They're enjoying the milder weather. Doesn't this look inviting? I want to sit here as soon as those pillows dry from the rain. This is a rose of Sharon flower. It's got kind of a hibiscus quality to it. They're beautiful flowers. Here's my Sweet William plants, and I think some of these are new seedlings that will flower next year. Isn't that green and lush? This side didn't do as well, so I don't think we're going to get as many flowers here, but there's something about this area here that they just loved. And it'll be nice to have the flowers there next year. Sometimes these perennials will seed themselves, make young plants, and then the following year you'll see a display of blooms. And isn't this arborvitae beautiful, guys? It's gotten very tall and lovely this year. And even though this looks a little messy now that the black-eyed Susans are long gone, I always leave the seed heads up because the wildlife, even throughout the winter, particularly the birds, like to eat the seeds out of there. So I have all the stands of black-eyed Susans will stay up and feed the birds. Sometimes you have to look at gardens from a particular angle, and I really like the angle of this garden. The way the grasses are weeping over and all the little touches of blue. I happen to really like how that looks, even though nothing is actively flowering like crazy. There's a couple little touches of ageratum there, but it's still just beautiful for the structure alone. I think this Isabellina zinnia might be my favorite color in the garden. This pale lemon chiffon yellow is so beautiful. I love it. I'm hoping to collect seeds from this one. And with milder temperatures, things come back to life, like the Alyssum. It was looking worse for wear after the heat of the summer, but look at how pretty this Alyssum is looking. It's coming back with its beautiful purple and white blooms. Kind of has an ethereal quality. And even as the geraniums are faded a bit, I think it looks really beautiful, and I'm so glad I didn't rip it out. It's just beautiful, delicate blooms. And here's something I don't think I've really shown you this season at all, and that is the two containers that flank my polytunnel have Mother of Time around the base of the two dwarf Alberta spruces. And I just put out seed all the way around, and it took off and created this beautiful ground cover. Isn't that pretty? It's really pretty underneath the plants, the way it's draping over the edge there. And when you touch it, it just smells so wonderful. So I'm not sure that this is an edible variety, but it completely filled the pot in the first season. It's a wonderful, thick ground cover, and no weeds came through whatsoever, but I just love the delicate nature of the foliage. I'm sure it cuts back well too, but look how pretty that is. The first season, I think that's so amazing. It's always nice when you can get such good results from seeds. And at some point of the year, I'm not sure which, we'll find out, it does put up either red foliage or red flowers. And that's actually what attracted me to the seed in the first place, some of those pictures. But this is lovely. It's just beautiful. And we'll have to see if it ends up being an evergreen ground cover in my area. And speaking of lush, here's my little canna lily. It's putting up a bloom, even though it's being completely surrounded by my beans, my living mulch beans. Isn't that pretty? With the bright green and then the purplish foliage coming through. And this is going to be a flower I can enjoy. These will have to be dug up. After the first frost, I'll dig them up, let the tubers dry, and store them until spring, because canna lilies aren't perennial in my area. But isn't that pretty, the contrast of colors? So thanks so much for joining me for a little fall walk around the garden. It's not officially fall yet, but it really feels like there's a change of season.